The Museum of Law Enforcement and Organized Crime is really a two-for-one for history buffs. The museum itself meticulously walks you through the history of the mob and how law enforcement stepped in and stomped it out. But as you stroll through the exhibits and artifacts, remember, you are strolling through a major piece of history in itself.
Keep in mind, it's really the only one building like this in the city. And you know, if you go to Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia or someplace like that, there may be a dozen or 2 dozen or 3 dozen of these federal buildings that look like this. We have just one here. And it was special in Las Vegas in the 1930s and 40s and 50s because it became a community gathering place.
Jeff Schumacher, Vice President of Exhibits and Programs for the museum, says thanks in large part to the Centennial Commission, you can now see a documentary on this historic building that opened its doors in November of 1933.
So we talk about, you know, the origins of the building during the Great Depression, during Hoover Dam construction and how it really precipitated the need for a federal building here. We talk about some of the great cases and hearings that were held in the courtroom. We talk about the post office and how it was such a vital part of the community. And then the evolution into the mob museum in the 21st century.
And going hand in hand with that documentary, there's a dedicated area in the museum where you can find some interesting artifacts and information backing up the program. This building of ours, the story of a Las Vegas landmark.
And so we've had the opportunity to create a little exhibit here that helps guests to understand a little bit more about the building, which is really one of the great artifacts that we have when you think about it.
The building was a federal courthouse and post office, but more than that, it was a gathering place for the community.
The documentary and the exhibit both help you to understand how important this building was to this community. Keep in mind, it's really the only one building like this in the city, and it was special in Las Vegas in the 1930s and 40s and 50s because it became a community gathering place. That's where people went for their mail, for one thing, but also all the other federal agencies were in here. So anything you needed to do during World War II, you know, with the war bonds and with the rationing, all of that happened here.
Schumacher pointed out some of the artifacts discovered while rehabilitating this building. The first item, this Prohibition-era liquor bottle found inside a wall. He loves this because of the questions it raises.
Because A, what's it doing there, right? Like, who on this construction crew had this bottle and why did they hide it inside of this pillar? But to find it then just really was just a look back at the past, and it was a way to tie this building to that era. So it's a really cool item.
And his favorite item comes from the old post office.
One of the businesses that had a P.O. box here was Binion's Horseshoe on Fremont Street. And so what's interesting about this is the door of for number 520. That was the Binion post office box. And we found that down on the first floor. We removed it and we've placed it on display.
And in the post office box, a key that was likely taken by accident from the hotel by a guest and sent back thanks to the address engraved on the key ring. On the wall, you can read more about the people that graced these hallways, whether they worked in the post office or tried cases in the courthouse. All made this magnificent building more than brick and mortar. It was a member of the community and needs to be embraced for its history and contributions. That's why the documentary and this exhibit are here to help tell that story.
This is a city that has some historic substance to it. And one of those great examples of that is this building. And so we really want to tell that story so people understand it's not just about the casinos, it's not just about, you know, the entertainment, although those things are important. It's also about the people here and about the institutions that formed this city.
Nancy Byrne here. I hope you enjoyed that story. For more great stories about the city of Las Vegas, don't forget to click on that box.